100 Years, 100 Voices. A St. John Centennial Oral History project conceived and produced by WSJS Radio, where every day is history.
Hello, I'm Renee Morales, and today I'm interviewing my mom, Mora Suarez, because this is our 100th year of St. John's.
Hi, Renee. How are you?
When did you graduate?
I graduated in 1993.
Do you still see your friends?
No, there's very few that have stayed in Puerto Rico since we graduated, which maybe out of a class of 53, which we were considered a very large class, maybe 5 to 7 have stayed locally in Puerto Rico, which I think is one of the great benefits about the school now. Now there's more of local makeup in the school. So that was a nice change. Before we used to have a lot of Americans, and a lot of them have left and never came back. Now the school's changed a little bit more, and we have more of a local student ratio.
What do you most remember of St. John's?
From what part? There's a lot to remember from St. John's. When
Your
I was
favorite
younger,
thing.
elementary.
No. High school.
I love the arts, so I was really involved with forensics. Those were lots of fun, going to the forensics competition, because St. John's was very competitive. We always came out, always number one. We were always the number one team. So that was a lot of fun, being involved with forensics and also being involved with other club activities such as OAS. St. John's was always number one or number two. We were under our teacher, who's still here, Patricia del Toro. She would accompany us on these trips, and it was a great experience because we got to compete with all these American schools. And for being this small school from a tiny island, we were a very competitive school. We always came in top 3, 1, 2, or 3. And we were going against schools such as like private schools in the United States, like in Georgetown Prep and Philip Sandover. And we got to debate. So that was like a lot of fun, debating about very important topics that affect the world. And for a week, we got to pretend in a way that we were these representatives from different countries. And each year you were given a different country. And we were the fun school. We were a festive school. People came and they were like, they're the Puerto Ricans. We danced because since most of these Americans were very shy, they would always have like a gala night, a evening cocktail, and you had to get dressed up for this. And so when the St. John students came, everyone looked forward to seeing St. John's because we already had fame for being this very outgoing social bunch.
Who was your favorite teacher and why?
Favorite teacher. There were a lot of favorite teachers. There's 1 or 2 that stick. They're not here still anymore. They were from the English department. One was Mr. Hull. He was a great English teacher because he really loved Shakespeare. He really made you think. He was always in charge of the arts department and the theater. He was the first teacher who inspired me to do a journal because he made us like go in depth with The Catcher in the Rye. And for some reason, he tied that into a journal. So he really inspired us in that way. And there was another English literature teacher called Mr. Lucero, who's no longer here. But he made language arts fun. He was an expert at musicals, so he always had these games where if you were able to sing 3 lines from any musical and he could guess it because he knew every musical, he would excuse you from the test. Yay. The thing is he knew every answer.
Who was your least favorite teacher?
There were probably a lot, but now in retrospect, you appreciate them because they pushed you. They're no longer here. One of them was from the Spanish department called Santiago, but now looking back, he was an excellent teacher. For St. John's being a school that was just focused in English, he really pushed you to learn the Spanish language and the grammar, like no other Spanish teacher did in that time. So at that time, I didn't appreciate him. But afterwards, you knew that what he was doing was the correct thing.
Were there any teachers that were strict?
Yes, there were quite a few that were pretty strict. But now in hindsight, you appreciate them for different ways because they actually pushed you to do better. One wasn't a teacher per se. She was Miss Negaglione. Miss Negaglione was the dean of students. From dean of students, she became the high school principal. And she was just someone you didn't want to get on her bad side. But now, in retrospect, she was doing her job and she did it quite well. So I respect her. There are some teachers from my time that are still here. My first kindergarten teacher, who ended up being your teacher, Miss Salazar, is here. She was my teacher, Miss Mayet, when I was in first grade. So that's wonderful that teachers that I started with have become the second generation teacher. And let me tell you, they're just as sharp and just as tough as they were when they were there in my times.
What year did you struggle the most with?
I guess it would be ninth grade it was like the game changer because, you entered with all these new courses you never took, like biology. And we had to do thesis papers. And I have to say that was the year, they already tell you everything counts from ninth grade. The year that we realized you got to take it seriously.
How was school different from now?
School was very different. Not so different in the makeup of the student body and in the way the students are, because St. John's has always been a very liberal school, which is one of the things I appreciate the most. You have so many different cultures. Even though there's more local now than there was in my time. We had a lot of expats then. But they're very open and it's a very relaxed school. I think also being co-ed has helped also. They're very forward-thinking, very smart kids. That has stayed the same. What was different, the structure of the building has changed a lot. This building where elementary is didn't even exist.
Really?
I think this used to be called Siberia.
What's Siberia?
Siberia was like the farthest place you can go to. So if you were, let's say, what we called the Hurricane Center, what you call the cafeteria was always called the Hurricane Center for us. For some reason, the Hurricane Center was called that. At least in my time, they always said that was the safest place in the school.
Was it?
It was the fun place of the school. The history of why I was told it was called the Hurricane Center was if there were ever a hurricane, it was actually the safest place because there was cross ventilation. You had an opening from each side and the wind could enter. So if there was ever an emergency, you could go to the Hurricane Center. So that's, most people thought it was the Hurricane Center because it was always crowded, a mess, and loud. I was always told the Hurricane Center was actually the safest place to go if there was ever a hurricane. Things were built differently then. That has stayed the same, but your gym never existed. That used to be a huge, huge sand lot with like maybe a little swing set and a monkey bars in the corner and a little pre-K wooden house. We used to play kickball there, baseball, a little bit of everything. Where the offices of where Miss Annette is and Camacho, that was all sand. Those things just got built like in the last 15, 20 years.
Wait.
So that was very different.
Have you seen them build it?
I saw all of that being built. They used to have major fundraisers here. Parents were really involved in getting this built. So that was one of those things that changed a lot during my time versus yours. Also, what else was different in St. John's? We were allowed to go out for lunch. That was fun. We used to get like double periods. A good day was if it was double or triple free periods, you could go all the way to where I think Taco Bell was, or so Pizza Hut. That was so lucky.
Like even in fourth grade?
No, not in fourth grade. I think it was since seventh grade. But things have changed. Things were safer then. There was no hospital there. The hospital was there, but the parking structure where Pinky's is, that didn't exist. That was just an open parking lot. So that's where we used to all park our cars.
What sports did you did? And what sports did they had?
They had all the sports. In fact, they had some extra sports that like softball and baseball, which they don't have now. But I wasn't really into the sports. I was, unfortunately for the team, I was put in a lot of sports like basketball because I was tall, not necessarily because I played well. So basketball would be one of the sports I was playing.
Were you the worst one?
I
or
wasn't the
best?
worst one, but I wasn't the best one. But I have to say, sports in St. John's in my time, it was not a very big deal. St. John's many years ago wasn't known for their sports department. Now things have changed, and St. John's, and I'm really happy because I'm very proud that I have two daughters that are like in every sports team that exists in St. John's. So that's total opposite of me.
What was your earliest memory?
Earliest memories of St. John's was kindergarten with Miss Salazar. That was when there were two little houses in the back where I think you have extended day where middle school is. Those were one of my earliest memories. I remember the music room, which does not exist anymore. I think it's where the seniors have their room where they have like their private room. That used to be a little house that was our music room. I used to like music class a lot. We had a big music department, and Miss Riera was very involved. Rafa Riera, Felipe's uncle, his mother was very involved in the music department, so she was our music teacher. So that was music was a lot of fun. Memories of the cafeteria. You guys have no idea how lucky you are with the cafeteria options you have now. But during that time, we didn't know better. We didn't have farm to table. You have healthier options. We had Nitsa's food service with actually the best sloppy joes were on Fridays. So those were some memories I remember. I do remember as I got to high school, Chisme Hour at Chismoso. That was a lot of fun. During recess, someone would get on a loudspeaker in those 10 minutes of recess when you went to get your snack.
We only had 10 minutes.
We only had 10 minutes. And we had a student, in that time it was Noah Selsby. I think way before, there was someone called, Alex from Pinkies was the chismoso during your aunt's time. In my time, it was Noah Selsby, and he would come, get on the loudspeaker, and he would get the gossip. Any gossip, any chisme from the school. You know, so-and-so is going out with fulano, this person was holding hands, this person had a party, and his parents didn't know about it, and he's in trouble. And you would pray you wouldn't be called upon. But it was fun. It was done in fun. So those were some early memories.
Like, has somebody ever cried, like, went out in the bathroom?
It was never done to hurt anyone's feelings. So it was done in good taste, but very fun. It was a lot of fun. My most memorable experiences were participating in school events such as OAS and forensics, being part of the student council. We did a lot with the school. So Noche Puertorriqueñas. We had a lot of fun. The school was a lot of fun, and I found that St. John's really prepared us well for, life beyond school.
What prepared you most later for your life?
For personal reasons, I had to stay in Puerto Rico for university. My father died when we were very young. My mother was left alone, and all my sisters decided to carry on with the family business. So I ended up studying here in Puerto Rico.
And what about your other sisters?
And my other sisters as well. And the St. John's better prepared me for life because I entered university. University was quite easy. St. John's was so challenging that I found university to be a breeze. Because St. John's prepared me so well for what to expect after school.
Like if you didn't need to go to college.
I think college helps, but St. John's prepared me very well for college. That college was not as hard as I would think it was. Aside from that, St. John's also, one of the things I got out of St. John's is my love of reading. I love to read. I love to read. And St. John's has a very liberal way of thinking. So I think my sense of humor and I think my love of reading has come from St. John's love and appreciation of literature and their focus on it. So those are two things I think I got out of St. John's.
Why did you choose this school for us?
Well, one, it was a no-brainer,
No-brainer.
No-brainer as in like, you didn't have to think twice. I didn't even look at other options because I just felt very proud. The next generation going to St. John's, all my sisters went to St. John's. I had a very good experience here. When I had to start looking for schools for you, I did look at other options, but the the elementary program was so great, and in fact it had changed so much since I've been there. I remember going to back to school night, and honestly it made you want to go back to school because it was just so well done, and so it looked like fun. It looked like fun to go to this school. Aside from that, I live in the area, so one of the benefits that I love is having the opportunity to walk you to school, which many of the other schools in Puerto Rico, you have to take a car to. So I think that's one of the, I'd rather live in a small little hole and be able to walk you to school than have to take a car. So I think that was one of the other benefits. But aside from that, I've never thought any other school could prepare you better than this school does. So that was one of the reasons that I wanted my children to go to St. John's, aside from just how well it prepares you for life.
Renee Morales, class of 2022.
Mora Suarez, class of 1993.